One Piece finally started revealing the identity of Imu-Sama, the king of the world. Oda finally introduced us directly in the manga about how the Queen of Alabasta, the ancestor of none other than one of the Straw Hats, Vivi, vanished from the world during the Void Century just as King Imu appeared on the world. But you may not realize just how much this explains so many of the biggest mysteries in the story, finally giving us answers to things Oda has foreshadowed for over 20 years, and may even tell us the secret behind Imu's true identity, helping us piece together what actually happened during the Void Century between Joy Boy and Nefertari Lily. Before we begin though, I want to tell you about a special project I've been working on. I already mentioned this in my last video, but wanted to bring it again for those who missed it. 2 years ago, in the first episode of my Mega Theory, I brought up the idea that Luffy's true dream may be to throw the biggest party in the world. This is a dream I have shared myself as well, but I never thought it would have been possible until I was approached by a company who proposed to make this dream a reality. So, together with the help of an event company and other content creators from this community, we rented out the biggest guest house in the entire world to gather together hundreds of fans so we could throw the biggest party this community has ever seen. This is Nakama Fest, a 3-day themed festival featuring several group activities such as live reactions, sports events, premieres, concerts, a treasure hunt, and so much more. And to top it all off, we will be holding a massive party gathering fans and content creators from all over to celebrate the spirit of the series together. We are working hard with all staff to ensure that this event is both safe and enjoyable for any type of fan who wants to attend, so we encourage you to come along. The event will take place in Spain, just outside Barcelona from August 18th to 20th. Please note that due to its location, large part of the event will be run in Spanish and will have Spanish-speaking attendees, but we're trying to build it in a way that anyone, no matter where they're from, can still enjoy the event, and all the essential and important information and help will be fully available in English. You can purchase tickets right now from the official website, which will allow you access to all activities, all meals, and a room for the 2 nights. Please be sure to thoroughly read all specifics, rules, and legal information before making an educated purchase, as the staff holds no liability for any damages. Tickets are bound to sell out quick, so don't wait too long. See you there at Nakama Fest. So King Cobra finally faced the Gorosei about the truth of the origin of the world, finally shedding us some light about what happened at the end of the Void Century. As he explains, a group of 20 human kings from 20 human kingdoms came together to form an alliance to take down a certain immense kingdom, as they feared the kingdom's ideology could threaten their power. After successfully eradicating the god country of the Lunaria situated upon the Red Line, the 20 founders and their families founded Marijois, where they ascended to live as the clan of the Celestial Dragons, to rule over the world. The 20 kings made a pledge around the empty throne to vote that none of them would try and take power for themselves. Since the founders would be too busy ruling the world, the 20 families left new royal families to take control of their original countries. We saw this, for example, with the Don Quixote clan abandoning Dressrosa, and thus the Riku family rising up to rule Dressrosa in their stead. But as we know, as Doflamingo has told us ever since Dressrosa, the Nefertari clan was the only one that did not become a celestial dragon. The Queen of Alabasta in the Void Century, Nefertari Lily, was meant to return to Alabasta and continue ruling that country instead of joining the Celestial Dragons. This is already peculiar on its own, but even weirder is that Nefertari Lily never returned from Marijois. Instead, her little brother had to take control of the country after her disappearance, only receiving a mysterious letter from her. The Gorosei chalk this as Lily having suffered some accident at sea, returning home, but Cobra believes there is more to this story, as things simply don't add up. Why is it that there are only 19 swords around the throne? Or in other words, why did Lily never pledge her sword? Why did Lily write back to Alabasta that she would never return? And why did Alabasta decide to house a poneglyph detailing an ancient weapon after this event? If Alabasta was an ally of the ancient kingdom housing a poneglyph, then why would they have been part of the 20 founding families? Just where did Queen Lily go? Now, a quick simple conclusion that we can come off of all this is that Lily decided to stand up against Imu at the end of the Void Century instead of pledging her sword to them, and was killed in turn, thus not making it back to Alabasta, only being able to send a letter of warning. And while this makes good enough sense, it's also kind of a boring answer to this whole mystery, so how about we think of the far more interesting possibility? We could speculate a lot about all this, but as always, the simplest answer lies in the linguistics, because we need to ask ourselves, what does the name Lily even mean? Well, on one hand, the name is fairly consistent with the naming scheme for Alabasta, as it is formed by two syllables ending in I when written in Japanese katakana, just like the names of Nefertari Vivi and her mother Nefertari Titi before her with Nefertari Lily. This is a loose connection, but with her name I also wonder if she has any connection with the empire of Amazon Lily, which has existed for centuries, potentially ever since the Void Century. Perhaps Lily was seen as a powerful global female figure, or maybe even had some hand in helping in the foundation of Amazon Lily. But ultimately that doesn't really matter much, because beyond all that, as you'll likely know, Lily is a type of flower. But it's one that holds very big importance in one specific culture, that of ancient Egypt. And as we know, Alabasta is in large part based off of ancient Egypt, so it makes perfect sense that their sovereign would be named after a flower that was considered sacred in the culture it was inspired by. Because in ancient Egypt, the blue lily was considered a sacred flower and outright worshipped as a god known by the name of Nefertem, which explains the name Nefertari in One Piece. In the Egyptian myth of creation, Nefertem is referred to having originated from the primordial sea, blossoming into a blue lily flower and giving birth to life and nature itself in the creation of the world. This ties with One Piece in the myth of the mother of nature, the sea Umi, as well as the creation of the world by the celestial dragons and evidently Nefertari Lily. As such, it would make sense if the primordial figure of Mother Sea, whom some called Umi, the mother of nature, may have been that of the Queen of Alabasta, Nefertari Lily, she who embodies nature and the sea as the blue lily flower. This would even finally explain why those of the Nefertari clan have blue hair just like Vivi, as blue is an obvious association with water and the sea. If Lily never left Marie-Joie, then that means she must have stayed there. But not as a celestial dragon, as she never pledged her sword upon the throne, but as someone else entirely. Someone who didn't need to pledge her sword because the swords were pledged towards her. Someone above the celestial dragons who instead took over control of the world and decided to rule it from the shadows. Nefertari Lily, also known as the goddess of the sea Umi, became Imu, the king of the world. This would explain why Imu-Sama is always found in the Chamber of Flowers of Marie-Joie. This chamber is likely the very same phantom room that the guards speculate about earlier in the chapter, as all those who witness it suddenly disappear, silenced for what they saw. But the peculiar thing is that this chamber is filled with, you guessed it, lily flowers. This is why Imu is surrounded by nature, loved by butterflies just like a flower, because she is, just like a lily, the mother of nature. This even explains the sword that Imu used in that room to stab the posters of Luffy, Blackbeard, and Shirahoshi, as it is likely the very sword missing from the empty throne. The pledge upon the empty throne was not one of equality among the kings, to promise to not steal the power for themselves. It was a pledge to follow Lily as their leader and to not take power away from her, to promise to keep her existence hidden from the world, for they all feared her and knew they couldn't oppose her. But how did this all happen? How did the Queen of Alabasta go from ruling a country to ruling the entire world? Well, given what we know, it's fairly easy to put the pieces together of what really happened during the Void Century. If we assume that Lily is indeed the mother of nature, Umi, that it follows the reason, as we've talked previously, that that could make her the Sea Devil, said to be the origin of devil fruits. This is because, as we know, during the Void Century, the 20 kings of the Alliance were referred to as the devils, whereas the allies of the Immense Kingdom were referred to as the gods of the God Country. This role reversed later when the celestial dragons became gods and rewrote history, but thus, back in the Void Century, it would make sense that the Sea Devil was among the 20 devils of the 20 kingdoms, even further if she is the sea herself. This creation of devil fruits, however, would not have been possible without the ancient kingdoms, or most precisely, the god countries' advanced technology, which applied the bloodline elements to allow people to evolve their genetic code into far more advanced forms. This would suggest to us that Umi had connections to both the Alliance of 20 Kingdoms, but also the God Country. But if Umi was Nefertari Lily, then it would make perfect sense, because it explains the dual connection that Alabasta already has with both the Celestial Dragons and also the Ancient Kingdom through its poneglyph. Though we don't know the details, I think we can make a fairly safe assumption of what really happened. Lily was originally an ally of the god country, having helped with the creation of devil fruits, likely thanks to the devil fruit tree Eve found at the top of the red line, in order for the people of the god country and their allies to attain liberation from the human tyrants who controlled the world. However, it is likely that this was a trap all along, as Umi made all those who ate devil fruits weak to her powers, the sea, to ensure that none would be willing to rise up against her. It is then that she likely switched sides and allied with the other 19 kings, maybe even being the one who formed that alliance in the first place, promising that if they helped make her the king of the world, then she would let them ascend with her and become gods. Thanks to this betrayal, Umi and the 19 kings were able to wipe out the people of the god country, ascending to Marijua and making the 19 celestial dragons pledge to never dare rise against her. However, publicly, Umi, now going as Imu, decided to vanish from history and instead rule the world from the shadows, attaining a perennially youthful surgery alongside her 5 shields, the 5 elder planets, to rule the planet forevermore. Her very existence had to disappear, so they pretended that Lily had returned to Alabasta so that none would suspect that she rose as king of the world. However, in reality, her younger brother was forced to rule after receiving a peculiar letter from Lily directly. It is at this point that her brother may have realized the horror of his sister's lust for power and her desire to control the world, that perhaps he may have had a change of heart, deciding to hide the poneglyph within Alabasta in order to protect it. This may be why the Gorosei refer to the Nefertari clan as a clan of traitors. But alternatively, maybe we're seeing this from the wrong perspective. It is also possible that Umi managed to locate the poneglyph of Pluton and had it sealed within the tombs of Alabasta to ensure that none would be able to locate it. This would line up with what Robin mentioned back in Alabasta, that the Nefertari family isn't trying to protect the poneglyph, rather they were likely ordered to hide it from the world. This would also explain why Cobra questioned back then why the Nefertari clan has been hiding this poneglyph all this time. This led King Cobra to finally arouse his suspicion regarding the role of the Nefertari clan and what happened to Queen Lily, and this finally frames so many things together. It explains why Lily was holding a picture of Vivi in chapter 908, because not only is Vivi in part her descendant, but she also bears a striking resemblance to her. From the faint silhouette we see of Lily in this chapter, not only does she perfectly match the silhouette of Imu, but she also looks a lot like Vivi. And considering what we've seen with the likes of Poseidon or Joy Boy finally reappearing upon the world, then I wondered if Imu sees Vivi resembling her so much as some twist of fate. But regardless, she thought the Nefertari too dangerous with what they have discovered, which is why she had King Cobra killed and tried to capture Vivi to keep her secret hidden. But Vivi managed to escape as she got on Morgan's ship after heading down to the Red Port to get Garp. Because Lily has been crafting this grand plan for centuries. She took advantage of the people of the god country to steal their place and rule from the top of the world. Much how in the myth of Genesis, the devil and Eve tempted Adam to eat the forbidden fruit, resulting in them being kicked from the realm of God to the Garden of Eden, Lily tempted the people of the god country with the devil fruits from the sun tree Eve to kick them from the god country and take power for herself. but Lily feared that the ideals of the kingdom she tried to wipe out, ideals of freedom and equality that could threaten her hold for power, could be inherited by future generations, and so tried to erase all existence on the Void Century, including of what happened to herself, to trick people by ruling the world from the shadows as the king of the world, Imu-Sama. But much like inherited will or people's dreams, these are things that will never cease to be, and Joy Boy will one day become reality to stand up to Imu's wicked plan and bring the world liberation. We are seeing this very laugh tale take form in front of our very own eyes and become reality, for this is the plot, the core conflict of the legendary story that is One Piece.